Yeah, thanks for taking a knowledge break. Yeah, thanks for taking a knowledge break. Take a break now. Take a knowledge break with Dr. Canute White. Yes, we take coffee break, we take lunch break. A little knowledge break won't hurt, but yeah, so expand on it, whatever you hear here with us. And let's ignite ideas together now. Let's ignite ideas together. The source is really Wolcott and Kennedy 20, sorry, 2003, coordinated response to child abuse and neglect, the foundation and practice. Yes, you're taking a knowledge break with Dr. Canute White, and we are going to be looking at factors that contribute to child abuse and neglect. And this is part two. We dealt with part one previously, but we have several parts to go through, because this is critical that you understand some of the factors that we can use to predict whether or not it's likely, highly likely, for a parent, a caregiver, to abuse or neglect his or her children. It's important that we look at this. But some of the factors that we look at is very, very important as we made these predictions, and we can practically make these predictions as we emerge ourselves in society. Let's bring this together now and ignite ideas. Look, family factors, family factors, family factors. It's critical. Let's look at the familial causes of child abuse and neglect. And there are a number of things that we're going to look at on the family factors. And one is the family structure itself can predict whether or not an individual is likely to abuse or neglect his or her child. Marital conflict, domestic violence, yes, DV going around, and this is now said in some places that domestic violence actually includes, any family violence, sister, brother, aunt, uncle, any family violence. A lot of parents, children violence coming up, and they call that domestic violence as well. However, there's a new spin to that. They are saying that in terms of intimate husband and wife, girlfriend, boyfriend violence in the home, they're considering that as intimate partner violence. They kind of put a spin to that, and just pull it away from the word familial violence, which they call domestic violence in some circles. But yes, on the family factors, we'll be looking at, as I said, marital conflict, domestic violence, single parenthood, yes, unemployment, a lot of that going on, financial for that matter, stress and isolation, social isolation. These may increase the likelihood of maltreatment. So let's talk about them now. Let's talk about them. Let's really talk about them and see where they go. And I'd like to look at family structure right now, because the authors, scholars are saying that children living with single parents may be at higher risk of experiencing physical and sexual abuse and neglect than children living with two biological parents. Interesting. But look, they're also saying single parents households are substantially more likely to have incomes below the poverty line. Is depends, perhaps in your country, check out what it is in your state. Lower income and increased stress associated with the sole burden, of family responsibility. Yeah, the matrifocal family, the patriarchal family, yes, who knows, right? And fewer support are thought to contribute to the risk of single parents maltreating their children. It is said by researchers that in 1998, 23% of children lived in households with a single mother, and 4% of those lived in household with a single father. They have discovered that during that time. But look, a strong positive relationship, according to them, between the child and the father, whether he resides in the home or not, contribute to the child's development and may lessen the risk of abuse. So that relationship matters with the father are good, according to researchers, and that will sort of, mitigate the chances of child abuse or neglect. Interesting findings. But in addition, studies have found that compared to similar non-neglecting families, neglectful families tend to have more children and greater numbers of people living in the household. Very interesting. But with those interesting findings by scholars, I would just love to spin over to marital conflict as it relates to causing child abuse, highly likely to cause child abuse and or neglect. And when you look at marital conflict, the researchers, the scholars are saying, and it was cited as published in 30 to 60%. It's published in studies. 30 to 60% of families were spouse abusers, spousal abusers, and spouse abuse naturally it takes place, and child maltreatment also happens in 30 to 60% of families, according to published studies. Children in violent homes may witness parental violence, may be victims of physical abuse themselves, and may be neglected by parents who are focused on partners or unresponsive to their children due to their own fears, whatever that may mean. But a child who witnesses parental violence is at risk for also being maltreated, according to the scholars. But even if the child is not maltreated, he or she may experience harmful emotional consequences from just witnessing parental violence, domestic violence. Yeah, it's critical for us to understand that as we look at marital conflict and domestic violence as being highly likely to contribute to child abuse and or neglect. Stress is another factor that is highly likely to contribute to that. But you know, it's important that we look at other things, but this the single parenthood and indeed, as we said, stress. But what type of stress? The financial stress is, according to scholars, is also thought to play a significant role in family dysfunction, and not family function in effect, although its exact relationship with maltreatment is not fully understood according to scholars, but physical abuse has been associated with stressful life events. Yeah, parenting stress and emotional distress in various studies. They have suggested that. Similarly, some studies have found that neglectful families report more day-to-day stress than other non-neglectful families, that is. It is not clear, according to scholars, however, that whether maltreating parents actually experience more life stress. But about that parent-child interaction, it's important that we look at that parent-child interaction and that parent-child interaction. And yes, we're looking at family factors. That parent-child interaction is very critical as well. Um, it is said that families involved in child maltreatment and rarely recognize or reward their child's positive behavior while having strong responses to their child's negative behavior. Think about the negative more than the positive. Give some praise, no? Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? Yes, you're taking a knowledge break with Dr. Canute White. The studies have also shown that maltreating parents have been found to be less supportive, affectionate, uh, playful, and responsive with their children. It is said that they're maltreating parents, particularly physically abusive mothers. Found that these parents were more likely to use sort of harsh discipline strategies, eating, prolonged isolation, and verbal aggression, and less likely to use positive parenting strategies, such as, timeout, reasoning, recognizing and encouraging children. You know, it's critical that that is considered. But again, we are going to look at other factors. But this whole thing about social isolation, how isolated are parents, family members, are they supportive of each other? We know that one of the function of the family, those of us who have gone through sociological studies, sociology classes, know that one of the function is the emotional support have to be given to each other, or much of an emotional support within the family, yeah, and as it relates to relatives supporting, giving that emotional support to other relatives, right? To uncle and his children, to auntie and her children, and that too will mitigate the whole possibility of child abuse and neglect. However, if the other turn to that, the spin on that is that if there's a level of social isolation within the family, among family members, there's a likelihood that there would be child abuse and neglect. I think this whole thing about social isolation, if that exists, it will sort of not basically causes the stress, but it will ignite, or sort of add a fuel to the stress fire, so to speak. It's nice talking to you about this, and I hope it's nice taking a break with me, a knowledge break with Dr. Canute White. We talk about more factors next time. Yes, and stay tuned. We're going to look at factors, that will be very critical to you, like the child factors. They too can contribute to I don't want to say they won't abuse or neglect, but there are factors that will spur they getting abused or neglected. Interesting, but not me, so scholars. But we talk more about it. Thanks for taking another knowledge break with Dr. Canute White. Goodbye.